hat and my scarf. It is so very beautiful. He's all decked out with his winter set. Hi cozy friends, and welcome back to a new episode of the Unraveled podcast. My name is Morgan, and on my channel I like to unravel my anxious mind one stitch at a time. And I am so excited to finally sit down and catch you up on everything I've been working on lately. If you follow my Instagram, you know my sister has been in town for the past month or so, and I was spending all the time I could with her. I live about a 20-hour flight from her. We haven't seen each other in a year and a half, so I was really soaking up that time with my family, and it was so good to have her here. We did do a lot of Love Island binge watching and just all the binge watching. So I did have some knitting time and I have some progress to share with you. We did actually hit the crafty cinema in the middle of June, and that was so nice to get to introduce my sister to all of my crafty friends here in Australia, or at least most of them that could make it to that event. She's not a knitter, but she had a really great time just watching the movie and hanging out with all of us. It is winter here in Australia, so all of the projects I have to share with you are kind of some winter knitting. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, hopefully you get some inspiration for your upcoming fall winter season. And if you're here in the Southern Hemisphere with me, hopefully I can inspire some of your winter knitting plans. I have a finished object of a long-term whip that has been on my needles the majority of this year, and I also have a few finished accessories as well as a few whips to update you on and a new cast on to share with you that I'm very excited about. I will also have a bit of a life update at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that if you are interested. But without any further ado, let's get into talking about finished objects. We're obviously going to start with the one I'm wearing, which is the Dagmar zipper sweater by petiteknit. I knit this one along with Ev from Knitting with Ev for our Dagmar knit along, and it was so fun to share this process and journey with her. We both kept each other motivated, but also validated each other when we needed to take the breaks from it, because this was the most work I've ever put into a knit. It is the most beautiful thing I've ever made. It's such an accomplishment, especially having a zipper, because this is my first time doing a zipper on a knit. So that was kind of daunting, but I love learning new things, and it was just all over cable work. And this honeycomb design is a lot of fun at first, but it becomes quite tedious the more you go. But it was for the most part a lot of fun to share the process with a knitting friend and fellow knitting creator. Ev is a fellow knitting podcaster. She is Canadian, and she also spins and shares that process. So I highly recommend checking out her channel if you haven't already. Back in September of last year, petiteknit started showcasing her Dagmar designs with the cardigan version, and I fell in love with it. My birthday is in September, so I treated myself to some birthday wool, which we're going to be talking about again later in this video, but it is not the wool I used for this. I bought the cardigan version when it came out on my birthday. I think it came out the morning of my birthday, which is so special. It felt like it was meant to be. And I started knitting it with the other wool. But once she started teasing the sweater and the zipper version, I started questioning which one I wanted to make, and ultimately decided that the zipper version was the one I wanted to knit. When I saw Ev talking about it on her podcast about it being in her knitting plans, I was like, let's make this together. And so we decided we would host a little knit along for it. It was pretty casual, and we shared the process on the hashtag DagmarCal. And it was for anyone knitting any version of the Dagmar. I frogged back that brown version to start this one in the size large. I will tell you the stitch counts are the same between the cardigan and the zipper version for most of the sizes, that as far as I could tell, but when I switched from the cardigan to the zipper version, I wanted to knit the size large to have a more oversized fit. This is, as is, already a very oversized garment, but I was sizing down because I know that petite knits tend to be quite large on me. But because I was knitting this with a worsted weight yarn instead of Aran, I didn't want it to end up being too small. Unfortunately, the Cascade 220 I was trying to knit this with just didn't feel like it was going to meet gauge, and I started to question whether it was really what I wanted for this knit. So when that knitter intuition starts to be in the back of your head, I think it's important to listen to it. And I looked in my yarn stash. I had just finished my husband's mill cardigan in this same yarn, and I had bought 2 sweaters quantities so that we could both have a winter wool garment in the same yarn, in the same color. And I decided that that is what I wanted to use for this. I was able to meet gauge by sizing up to a 5mm needle with this worsted weight. I think the Cascade 220 was just ever so slightly finer. It's still a worsted weight just like this one, but it felt like it was a light worsted, and the project calls for Aran. So this yarn ended up working out better, and it just feels like it was meant to be with this garment. This yarn is Knit Picks Simply Wool in the color Winnie, and it is 100% eco wool. So it is an undyed fiber, and it's very nice to work with. It actually had that oily feel when you were working with it. You can tell that it's not been like super processed and all that. And I think it has amazing stitch definition. I'm really happy with the fit of this garment and the drape. And I knit the size large for a finished bust circumference of 125 centimeters or 49.5 inches. I have a bust circumference of about 39.5 inches, so that's about 10 inches of positive ease, and that's really what I was going for. I think that is around what the pattern recommends as well. I would say that this yarn probably falls on the more rustic side, but it is still comfortable enough to be on skin. I'm wearing a short sleeve underneath this, and I'm not uncomfortable. There's no itch for me. I find this yarn to be very soft and very drapey for a wool, and I absolutely love it. Anytime I've ever purchased this yarn, it was on like a steep discount, so I really highly recommend the Simply Wool if you are in the market for an undyed wool fiber. I do actually have an affiliate link for Knit Picks down in the description, so if you're feeling like shopping Knit Picks anyways and want to support me, any purchases made through my link does earn me a small commission at no extra cost to you. They were only about $6 per hank when I got them, and I got 14 hanks, 7 for my husband's cardigan, 7 for mine, and I think that that's well worth it because I was able to make this entire garment for about $50. And this is a wool, beautiful, cabled knit and will remain in my wardrobe for the rest of my life, that's for sure. I have worn this literally every day since finishing it because it's winter and I layer it underneath my coat as well. So there's been a lot of friction, I'd say, on it. There is a lot of pilling already, but that doesn't bother me. I do have a wool shaver, but I think it's just signs that it's a very well-loved garment. But if pilling is something that bothers you, I would definitely just caution you that it does seem to pill quite a lot. But I think that's going to be the case with any wool. As far as the other needles I used, as I said, I used 5mm for the main body, but I used a 4mm for the cuffs and hems. Then I used the 3.5mm for the collar and the 3mm for the double knit button band. The construction of this garment is drop shoulder. So you start by working the upper back panel and increasing. After that, you pick up stitches for the front of the shoulders. And one thing I will say, the shoulder seam does not align with the diamond. I know that bothers some people, but Ev did make hers line up. She did a little clever trick to make it line up, and I did not. I just did it as to pattern because I didn't want to mess anything up. Most of this garment is knit flat until you've joined in the round for the body, and then once I was at that point, I did a little trick that I think I learned from Nora Knits, where the beginning of round marker, I had one that was colored and one that was not, and I attached them to each other. And when I slipped my beginning of round marker, I would alternate which one I slipped. And the colored one was meant to be my right side rows where I needed to be cable crossing, and the non-colored stitch marker meant I don't need to do any crossing on this row. And that helped me a lot with keeping track of whether I was supposed to be cable crossing or not. I think doing cables in the round can be tricky because you can't tell if you're supposed to be crossing. The small modifications I did make was adding seed stitch inside of the diamond and turned this seed stitch over here into moss, and I really like the look of that. I did that based off of my experience knitting the book club cardigan and how much I liked that design feature. And because of my experience with the book club cardigan, the diamond repeat was really easy to do. The only difference was the way that this cable double crosses before you begin the next diamond. I really liked that. The only thing that was completely new to me was working the honeycomb, and I did really enjoy it for the most part until I was just really tired of knitting the body and trying to make decisions. The hardest decision with this knit was where to end the body, because you're supposed to end it either on a full diamond repeat or a half diamond repeat. And it was really hard for me to decide how long I wanted the body and the sleeves. And because I wanted my sleeves kind of over to go down to my palm, I ended up doing a quarter diamond repeat instead of a full one. And I honestly think that turned out quite nice. When I finished this knit, I was very nervous. It was not going to turn out the sizing I wanted. I did take a before and after reel that I'll pop on the screen right here. And the way the block saved this knit for me is crazy. I feel like blocking really proves to be magic every time I make a cabled knit, because it felt like it was really tight and I didn't think I was going to want to wear it if it turned out that tight. In the end, it has amazing drape. It's very oversized. It's so cozy. I really never want to take this off. I did stretch it a bit during the blocking process, but not overly so. I was just trying to make sure it would be the right dimensions. The more I wear this, the more drapey it seems to get. This knit was on my needles from the beginning of February till the end of May, the last day of May. This is one that definitely lingered and was a labor of love, but I honestly am so proud of myself and so happy I finally finished it just in time for winter, which was my exact plan. And June 1st is the start of winter here. So it's kind of funny to me that I literally finished it May 31st. And then as far as putting the zipper in place, the process for the collar was knitting up like 8 inches, I think it was, of the collar and then folding it over. And you knit a double knit band on either side. And then you sew the zipper in place in between the 2 folds. And I think I did a pretty neat job of it. I will try to link below the tutorial I followed. There is one place that I do need to fix where this has kind of come out of its little pocket it was supposed to be in, so I do need to re-sew that. But it was actually pretty easy, I'd say, for someone who doesn't sew. So I'm honestly really surprised with how easy it was to do. I feel like that was a part that I was dreading the most about this knit, and it was pretty pain-free. It was just a lot of knitting for the collar and the button band, but it came together. I will say the instruction also for this was not very clear. It was a lot of guesswork and hoping you were doing the right thing, especially with the button band. So this pattern doesn't hold your hand with that part whatsoever. So if you want to learn how to do a zipper, you're going to have to find a YouTube video. It doesn't walk you through it or have any linked, unfortunately. I think that's about all I have to say about the Dagmar, but I am absolutely obsessed with it. I highly recommend this pattern or some version of it. There is the sweater, the zipper sweater, or the cardigan. So let's move on to some of my finished accessories. I showed you in the last podcast that I knit the Olay beanie by Susanne Müller in my Bendigo Woolen Mills alpaca yarn in this beautiful wine color, and that I was working on a Sophie shawl to match, and I have now finished my Sophie shawl. Here it is so very beautiful. I did do the large version, and I basically just knit until I was at the halfway point. And actually at the halfway point, I did do some rows of just straight knitting back and forth with no increases or decreases. Because I didn't want to get it any wider, but I did want it to get a little longer. So that's what I did, but I do notice that it makes it kind of do this like odd shaping in the middle. So I don't know if I'd recommend that, but that's what I did. And I knit to that halfway point and weighed my yarn to use it up. Here is what it looks like with it on. I typically wear it like this with the bulk of it right here in the front and then have the tails both towards the front. And it's so nice to finally have a matching winter set. I feel like it looks so nice on me. It's so cozy. I have not yet blocked this scarf because I've been wearing it every day, but I'd really like to because I think it would soften it up a little bit. Unfortunately though, every time I wear this out and about, even if I brush my hair right before putting it on, it mats up the back of my hair. Can anyone, because it's between my hat and my scarf. So if anyone has any tips for how to prevent the like static of your hair touching wool and prevent it from matting, those tips would be greatly appreciated because I really am tired of that happening. I'll end up with like a rat's nest in the back of my head and it's crazy. This yarn is an 8-ply, and I'm sure you all know because everyone and their mother has knit the Sophie shawl or scarf, but it is just a garter stitch scarf with an I-cord edge. I scored this yarn in the back room of the Bendigo Woolen Mill, and I did not know they carried alpaca because it's not available on their website. So it was really exciting to get to purchase this in person and peruse their store. And this feels like a very special souvenir of that time in my life, but also of Australia because it is yarn made from alpaca here in Australia. So I'm really happy with this. I knit mine on 4.5mm needles. I'm not sure if that's the one recommended in pattern, but it's just what worked for this fiber, which is an 8-ply. And the cost for this set total was 32 Australian dollars. And I'm very happy with that. I mean, these are alpaca fiber, a beautiful winter set that I can wear forever. I'm so happy to have finally added some winter accessory staples into my wardrobe. I've shared before, but when I began my knitting journey, I jumped right into making garments because I was already a crocheter and I was most excited about learning how to knit my own sweaters. So going back now and making simple things like beanies and scarves is really adding a lot of value to my wardrobe because we all need those in the cold winter months. Especially here in Canberra, because the last week my sister was here had record-breaking temperatures. In the last 50 years they hadn't had 3 consecutive colder mornings. It was -7 at like 5 a.m. each morning Celsius, and it was just really cold. The thing about Australia is it's cold outside, but it's even colder in the homes because they are insulated to keep the cool in during the hotter months, at least in my experience here in Canberra. So the first thing we do is we wake up and put on all our cozy layers and turn on the heat and bundle up or huddle up like penguins. The next winter accessories I have to chat about are my husband's winter set. I shared that I also made my husband an Olay beanie by Susanne Müller in Barocco Vintage DK in the color Dark Denim. This yarn is 52% acrylic, 40% wool, 8% nylon. It is a DK weight yarn. And after knitting the hat, I worked on a set of penny gloves for him. I literally knit this pair. Each glove took me a day. I had a lot of fun working on them. I'd really like to make myself a pair. I will say though, when we're outside, it's nice to have your fingers accessible, but there is a lot of draft that feels like it gets in the glove. So I'm not sure if I want to make myself a pair of penny gloves or something that goes all the way around the hand, but still keeps the thumb out for my phone or something. That is yet to be determined, but it fits him perfectly. He actually likes to roll up this hem, so I wish I'd done something ribbed for him down here, but he likes to roll this up and wear it like this under his jacket. And whatever works, as long as he enjoys the gloves, I'm happy. But these penny gloves were so simple and are really quick and easy. I was actually surprised with how easy gloves were. I think knitting the thumb was the most tedious bit, but so I definitely don't know if I would want to do mittens that have all the fingers individually made. And then after finishing the glove, I was trying to pick out a scarf for him, and I was thinking of even self-drafting one, but I ended up finding the Dunaway scarf by Brooklyn Tweed, and I'm knitting it in the same yarn as the other 2 accessories. This one is a brioche and garter stitch scarf. and then the end has 1x1 rib, and I am chugging along at it. It is so long at this point. It's great TV knitting or car knitting because we took my sister to and from Sydney to pick her up from the airport and drop her off. And I've been putting a stitch marker every foot to keep me motivated. That's every 12 inches, or what's that in centimeters? Or every 30 centimeters. So at this point, it is 4 feet long, or 48 inches, and I'm hoping to get it about 6 feet long for him at the least, because I want him to be able to wrap it around his neck. So here's what it's looking like right now. It is so cute. Let me put the whole set on. So here's how he's gonna look. He's all decked out with his winter set, and hopefully it'll be done before winter is, because I've definitely been taking my time working on this. But there will be lots of winters to come, and it's especially cold here, so he's going to be, I'm sure he's going to get a lot of use out of it. Canberra is, I think, the coldest city in Australia because it's more inland, so you don't have the coastal temperatures. We're elevated like much above sea level. I'll put on the screen how high above sea level we are. And then the last finished accessory that I have to talk about will be brief because I don't have it with me. I knit it for my sister before her visit, and she got a lot of use out of it because she did not bring her winter accessories because she was coming from summer, and I told her it's cold here, but I don't know if she believed just how cold it was going to be. So she got a lot of wear out of the beanie. It is Fiddlesticks Superb 10 in the color, I think it was Eggplant. This is a 100% machine washable anti-pilling acrylic. I chose this because I wanted it to be easily washable for her. I didn't want it to be something that she needed to like be high maintenance with or anything. And this color I chose because she's always dyeing her hair purple and she has rainbow glasses, and I just knew it would complement her so well. But it actually really matches my set too. And as you can see, I have some left over from hers because I got 2 balls just in case. So I might make my mittens out of this yarn. We shall see. But I made her the Twisted Affair beanie by Joji Knits, Joji Locatelli. This is a 10-ply worsted weight yarn, which I believe is what the pattern calls for. I followed the instructions for size 2. I think there are only 2 sizes for this. The yarn was $9 Australian and the pattern was free. So a really affordable gift knit that I highly recommend. The pattern was really fun to follow. If it's your first cabled knit, I would definitely proceed with caution because it doesn't hold your hand with the cabling instructions. But I really liked the pattern, and I can see myself knitting one for myself, knitting more as gifts because it was just fun to work up and so quick. I knit the hat on 5mm shorty needles, and it ended up using less than 100 grams. The only modification I made was doing 1 row of knit stitches to create a really neat fold halfway through the 2x2 ribbing. While the cabling instructions didn't hold your hand very much and were different than most cable patterns I've followed, I do think that the decreases instructions were more concise and detailed than most paid patterns I've followed for beanies, and I really appreciated that about it. So honestly, with it being a free pattern, there's no risk. I'd highly recommend it. And she really loved it. It ended up fitting perfectly, which feels like I've finally won. I finally defeated the curse of always knitting beanies too small. So I'm really happy with that. And then we've got 2 fresh cast-ons to talk about. I'm most excited to share this one with you, but before we get to that one, I want to ask your opinion about another one. Just before my sister got here, I was casting on the Harriet sweater by Les Knit, and I absolutely love this design, and I had decided to knit it in some Bendigo woolen mills I had gotten in the back room in this beautiful murky green color. So this was going to be my color combo for the color work, and I really like these colors together and think it would make a beautiful sweater. I did not bring my swatch upstairs, so I can't show you, and I haven't started the color work because I'm starting to get unsure about this project. And you guys know, whenever I have that feeling in the back of my head, just put this down and think about it a little longer. But I saw What's Millie Making, who is my biggest inspiration lately, making her Harriet sweater with a gorgeous chocolate brown and like a pink and purple contrast color. And I can't stop thinking about the idea of using a brown yarn with the leftovers of the icy blue color I have for my Salty Days sweater. And I feel like it would be really nice to bust that from my stash. However, I've already started this and I already have yarn for this, but it's making me stop and question whether I want to continue with this green and white for the Harriet or if I should do the brown and blue combo. So let me know what you guys think of my Harriet ideas and whether I should commit to the green and white because I have it and I've already started it. Oh, but let me show you how far I've gotten. I'm literally up to the row before starting the color work. I have done the contiguous, I believe, shoulder construction is what I think it is. And honestly, I'll talk more about the process of knitting this in the next podcast once I've like committed to whatever version of it I'm going to knit. Yes, it's a contiguous, I think, shoulder construction, and then the body has color work. And I really liked that design because most of the time when you see color work sweaters, it's either all over color work or color work just on the yoke, and it has a really unique design. I really like it. So I definitely want to knit it. I'm just deciding what yarn I want to knit it with. But let's move on to my most recent cast on and my most priority knit right now. My Cascade 220 that I bought last year is finally being put to good use. I am making the jacket number 2 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which has been on my queue and dream knits since I saw my friend Mathilde from Nestled in Knits working on it, and hers turned out so beautifully. She used a beautiful white and it looks so fuzzy and gorgeous, but I just love a cabled cardigan, so I've wanted to get to this one for quite some time. I am using my brown Cascade 220 in the color 8686. It is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool worsted weight yarn. The jacket number 2 is a drop shoulder design, and I really love that the increases around the shoulder seam have a cable that trails down the shoulder. It is such a beautiful design detail. This yarn has almost been a couple things and been frogged a couple times, and it just never felt quite right in the projects before, but this one feels so right and so beautiful. And this one, like I was talking about with the Harriet, almost became that. This yarn was purchased to make the Dagmar jacket and didn't quite work out, and then I actually was working on the Eva cardigan for it, and I'm actually knitting straight from frogging the Eva. I was quite far down the body of the Eva, but it wasn't feeling like this is what I really wanted this yarn to become. So I kept umming and ahhing and putting it down, and this finally feels right. So I'm literally just knitting from the frog of the Eva. Really enjoying the process of this. You would think after I finished the Dagmar that I would not want to look at or touch cables for a while, but of course you guys know me. I love my cables and can't get enough of them, especially in the winter. I am knitting this on 5mm needles, and I am following the size 4 or large. The pattern recommends anywhere from 9 to 11 inches of positive ease, and I'm knitting mine to have about 12 inches of positive ease because I really want it to be oversized and hang off my shoulder. I was getting really nervous working on this because it was super cinched up. So actually just like 2 rows ago, I did a mid-project block, and as you can see, it is so flowy and drapey, and the cables really loosened up, and it's definitely going to fit. It's definitely the sizing I was looking for. I love on this front panel with the cable following the V-neck and the cables trailing from that. Every piece of this design feels very thoughtful. I do think that following My Favorite Things Knitwear patterns is less detailed and descriptive than other designers I've followed in the past, and I always am a bit frustrated that there's literally no charts to follow. You just have to go word by word, line by line. That's not my favorite way to follow a pattern, but it obviously gets the job done and it has beautiful details, and it's definitely worth knitting. When we went to the Crafty Cinema on the 15th of June, I was still working on the Eva, and 2 days later is when I was like, you know what, no, I just wanted to have something stockinette to work on at the movies, but this is not what I want to be making with this yarn. And I had been thinking about the jacket number 2 with it, so I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna swatch for it. Well, my sister and I watched TV, and I did, and I loved it. I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I cast it on the 17th of June. So this has been on the needles for a couple weeks now, and it's a lot of fun. It's working up really beautifully, and like I said, after that mid-project block, I'm feeling a lot better, even more better about it, and excited to get this into my wardrobe. I feel like this is the perfect me piece, like cabled chocolate brown. I'm obsessed. Although it is cabled all over, most of the rows are just knit and purl stitches in columns, and it's really easy to work on without thinking about it too much. The cable crossing rows are a bit tedious, especially now that I'm going to be in the round and doing it, but at the same time, it's a really fun process, and I am enjoying it. And while I do need some time and space from the Dagmar, I have already purchased some yarn for another one for my son. I'm going to knit the Dagmar Junior, and I got Indigo Woolen Mills 8-ply rustic tweed in the color Thunder. He actually helped me pick it out. I was showing him all the colorways on my phone, and he really liked the Thunder. I think he might have liked the name the most because he loves the song Thunderstruck by AC/DC, one of my husband's favorite bands, but it's also a song on the movie Planes, so he just really loves that song. Funnily enough, when my sister was here, a new season of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders show on Netflix came out, and we were watching it, and he calls it the Thunder Show because they perform Thunderstruck, so he would start dancing every time Thunderstruck came on. It was really cute. But I look forward to making this for him. However, he said with his most recent woolly knit, he only likes to wear that sweater when he has long sleeves under it, that it itches his arms if he wears a short sleeve. So now I'm starting to regret buying him another 100% wool, but he still wears the bear sweater. It's just we have to layer it, which keeps him extra warm, so it's not that big of a problem, and I'll probably do the same with this one since I've already gotten 2 balls of it for his sweater. But that's my favorite thing about Indigo yarn is it's 200-gram balls. So for his sweater, I only need 2 balls, and for my size sweater, I only need 3 to make a whole sweater. It's great. So that is why I love shopping Indigo Woolen Mills. I think that is about all I have to share about my projects and knitting lately, but let's get into a bit of a life update. So as many of you know, we are living abroad here in Australia on a work visa. My husband landed a cybersecurity role here, and it has been a great opportunity for us to get to live here. And a couple months ago, we got a new place with a year-long lease, and we furnished the entire space, and we're planning on going for residency next year and hopefully eventually dual citizenship. We decided to invest in a long-term life here. But at the end of May, my husband was brought into a meeting out of nowhere on a Friday and told that he may be made redundant. And so the month of June, while my sister was here, was so stressful. They told him they were going to look for him a new role within the company so that they wouldn't have to make him redundant, but that the contract he was working on had come to an end. And so during the month my sister was here, he wasn't working. We were able to kind of explore and have fun, and well, we didn't have that much fun because we were like literally not sleeping from anxiety about our life falling apart, but we were able to spend that quality time with her. There were literally no updates or communication through that month of June. We were very frustrated with the way they've handled this, and it feels really disrespectful how they haven't been communicative or caring about the circumstances they were putting us in. But towards the end of June, they were able to find him a different role. We did have to take a significant pay cut, and that's really hard when you're a family living on a single income in a foreign country, living on a work visa. We were literally having to choose between a significant pay decrease or having to be sent back to America and made redundant. So obviously we were stuck between a rock and a hard place, and we chose the pay cut. But he's going to be working for a team that is based in West Australia. So he's going to be working remote during this time, and it's going to be a little bit of a change of pace, but we're grateful to still have a life here because we were not ready to go back to the US. Having my sister here did make me realize like how hard it is to be so far from family. So during that time, I was trying to tell myself, like, even if all fell apart and we did have to go back, at least I'd be closer to her. But we're just not ready to close this chapter yet, and especially with the political instability and economic instability in the US right now, like, we feel safer than ever being here in Australia and raising our son here. So I'm very thankful that everything is working out right now for us to stay here at least a little longer. But things were really stressful this past month, and it just put a lot of things into perspective for us. So we're trying to not, I guess, get too comfortable anymore, even though we really were. We were at a place where we were ready to grow our family again, and now we don't really know if we're able to because we don't know what the future holds here. But we're just doing our best to feel secure and stable here and enjoy the life and time we have here in Australia and the friends that we have here. And we're so grateful that our families are finally able to come and visit. As I said, my sister was here for the past month, and my husband's parents are going to be here in a couple days visiting for a couple weeks. And it's the first time we've seen them since living here. So it's just really special to get to show them the little world that we've gotten to experience around here now, and the friends we've made, and to take them for drives to see kangaroos and to walk through the zoo. It's all just very special, and I'm so grateful for the time that we have here. And I'm also so grateful to be able to make these videos and spend this time chatting about all the things I've been making, and I can't wait to hear what you've been making lately. This is a really long overdue catch-up. I've been looking forward to sitting down and talking about all the yarny things, and I still have that Lakes cardigan vlog coming to you very soon. I haven't been editing this past month because I was literally just soaking up every moment I had with my sister. So hopefully you can see that one soon as well. Don't forget to let me know down in the comments what you've been working on lately, or if we have any knits in common. But most importantly, tell me what you're thinking about my Harriet, if I should keep going with this version or find a chocolate brown to use for this one as well. Thank you so much for spending your time unraveling with me today, and don't forget to do all the things that help you unravel. I will see you again very soon. Bye, friends.